So if you have been anywhere on social media recently, you may have noticed these posts popping up. They come in one of two flavors so far, and it's either hashtag Save Our Children, which which is posts that are talking about usually talking about general sex trafficking and sexual abuse of children. Um, or it can come in the flavor of a post talking about a little boy named Cannon Hinnant, who tragically lost his life when he was shot in the head by one of his neighbors, adult neighbors. See if I can't find the picture. This is it. Um, that's his killer. That's the little boy. Um, yeah, there have been a lot of posts about this, and some of them are mean well and are harmless. But some of them are comparing this tragedy to either A, the George Floyd killing, B, the Black Lives Matter movement, C, COVID, or B, for some reason and in much rarer cases, um, wearing masks. And I have a theory as to why that is happening. Um, it's pretty much trying to serve as a distraction for mainly COVID and Black Lives Matter. Two issues that are currently tanking Donald Trump's polling number. So, this went on for a few days, and I was actually seeing this pop up on my personal Facebook feed, and I was commenting on the people who were posting these things for a few days before I actually saw any real pushback, like the memes that you're about to see Tim Pool respond to. I am glad that people are now pushing back, because I was so tired of being the only one and not seeing any type of agreement with me coming out of some of the smarter ends of the internet, I guess you can call them. Anyways, Simple has something to say about this. And before I start this video, I want to say that at the end of the video, he goes into a spew about Breonna Taylor. And I gotta say, I agree with his take, particularly on Breonna Taylor. So I kind of want to just focus on the Cannon Hinnant stuff, because you can really separate the two and not lose anything from it. And he's so wrong about this that I don't know. It's got to be pointed out.
A little boy named Cannon Hinnant was executed by a 25-year-old man. A lot of people were angry that the story was getting no mainstream news coverage.
All right, so this is what he is going to spend the portion where he's talking about Cannon Hinnant, trying to argue that people are angry that Cannon Hinnant isn't getting mainstream news coverage, which for some people that's true. But not for everyone. Not for the people who are mainly pushing this narrative. That is not their goal. Mainstream coverage, they don't care about that, and I will explain why and show you proof of why I say that later.
Yet we see things like the Covington kids get national coverage from all these big newspapers. It led to a massive outcry. People were livid.
Yeah, it's the Covington kids that they're mad about getting coverage. Yeah, the Covington kids. That's That's what they're mad about. Getting coverage. Um, it's not, like it has nothing to do with Black Lives Matter. It's the Covington kids. It's things like later on in the video he's going to mention the kid who the was staring at the Native American playing the drums. Those are what they're mad. These people are mad about getting coverage. It's yeah. Okay, Tim Pool. Continue the video.
And for good reason. A lot of people felt there was a strong racial component to it. Cannon Hinnant was a 5-year-old white child, and the man who killed him was a 25-year-old black man.
Now, honestly, I don't think that the races of the people. Well, actually, no, that's not true. I've seen some hashtag White Lives Matter posts online, but in general, the posts that I mostly see aren't really talking about race.
The idea being pushed by many was that if the narrative was inverted, it would be a national story. There was an online protest, I guess you could call it, say his name, and it resulted in finally news outlets covering the story.
Okay, here's the problem with the using say his name in this situation. And I hate doing this because I'm going to sound like a lot of the George Floyd apologists. George Floyd murderer apologists. But it applies so much more here, I think. People say his name when it comes to things like George Floyd. Because because if it wasn't for the movement, he would have been forgotten. And he wouldn't have gotten justice.
And it resulted in hundreds of thousands of dollars being raised for Cannon's family. It is a horrifyingly tragic story, and I'm really sad to hear about it. But there are memes popping up now from the left, which I find absolutely confusing. Why would anyone attack people who are trying to raise awareness for a little boy who was killed? It's the weirdest thing.
All right, yeah, they're not attacking people. So I think this is a good place to talk and really stop and really delve into this. They're not attacking people because they're trying to raise awareness for this little boy's death. Every time that I went on and actually spoke to somebody about this, I would always start out with, this is a tragedy. If you want to raise awareness, that is fine. But don't compare it to Black Lives Matter. So this one right here, I believe, is the most egregious one. One of the more egregious ones that really serves to prove my point. This meme is completely just comparing Cannon Hinnant and George Floyd, making George Floyd out to be like a thug, a criminal that deserved what he got, and Cannon Hinnant as a innocent boy that didn't deserve what he got. Now, one of those things are true. Cannon Hinnant was innocent, and he didn't deserve what happened. His family didn't deserve what happened, and his sisters didn't deserve to have to see something like that. But the point is, this post isn't bad because they're trying to raise awareness for the murder of this little boy. This post is bad because they are trying to use the murder of this little boy to discredit George Floyd and, on a broader scale, Black Lives Matter. That is the issue. Justice for Cannon Hinnant. I see that everywhere. They caught the guy. I've heard same day, next day. Either way, they went on a statewide manhunt and caught the guy. He's in jail. He did not get bail. and he will most likely be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. What other justice do you want? What else are you going to do? The guy's going to probably spend the rest of his life in prison. And when you use phrases like "this man's life mattered," yes, on the surface, that phrase is not problematic. That, of course, his life. But this phrasing is a direct it's directly correlated with Black Lives Matter. It's meant to make you think Black Lives Matter and think of it in a negative way, because Black Lives Matter isn't protesting this kid, even though his life mattered. That's the reason why they have this young man's life mattered in this particular in this meme, this picture. They don't care. They might think that this kid's life mattered, but they're using him as a political pawn, and it's disgusting. Oh, this one makes me sick to my stomach. Systematic racism is when nobody in mainstream media will cover Kenan Hinnant's shocking murder because it doesn't fit their racial narrative. What the fuck? People aren't covering, the mainstream media didn't cover Kenan Hinnant's murder because people get murdered all of the time in America, including children. It is unfortunate, it is tragic, but it's true. It's been true for a very, very long time. So if the mainstream media, meaning national media, were to try and cover all of the kids' deaths, people would just, why? What good is that going to do? Not everybody wants their kids' deaths to be national news. But stuff like this belongs on local news because it is local tragedies. It affects the people in the community much more than it does people as a nation. Now, if there was a string of murders that was connected to some organization that was killing kids in the nation, then yeah, that would be national news. But this is a local thing that it has been covered locally and now nationally, because of the movement behind it. And this doesn't have anything to do with the fact that this little boy's white. Black kids get killed all of the time, and that doesn't get covered. This isn't systematic racism. Systematic racism is a black person being more likely to be pulled over by the police because of the color of the skin. A black person more likely to be brutalized by the police because of the color of their skin. That's systematic racism. And it happens all the time, and it doesn't get covered all of the time. Another one, say his name. 5-year-old Kenan Hinnant was executed in cold blood while riding his bike. The accused killer is Darius Sims, no, whatever. He allegedly walked up to the boy, shot him dead in front of his sister, reversed the racist, and the only thing anybody would be talking about for about a month. No, this wouldn't be the only thing anybody would be talking about for months, because white people kill black kids and it goes uncovered. I'm not going to say it happens all the time because I don't actually. But it goes uncovered when white people kill black kids too. It gets covered locally. Not only that, the coverage of black people being killed is usually when they're being killed by the police. There is a huge difference in somebody who may be mentally unhinged killing somebody and somebody who is acting as an agent of the state killing somebody. And if you can't recognize that difference, then you don't belong in this conversation. I don't know what to tell you. You get critical thinking was never your strong suit. So yeah, that's pretty much my take on this. I'm gonna continue the Tim Pool video.
And there are memes, and these meme things that are popping up in comics make literally no sense, and it is blind to what the conservatives have actually been arguing about. I want to debunk a couple.
Again, what he thinks that the conservatives are arguing about is not what the conservatives are arguing about. There are memes out there that are specifically focusing on why isn't the media covering Canon Hinnant, and that's it. I'm sure they exist. Most of the memes that I have seen, why aren't the media covering Canon Hinnant, and they're putting so much coverage on Black Lives Matter, or why are they covering Canon Hinnant, but they'll cover people like George Floyd? That is the majority of the memes. And there's also ones that are like, COVID. They'll be like, why are they covering so much on COVID and they're not covering Canon Hinnant?
Couple of these memes for you. And then I want to talk about Breonna Taylor. The issue we have here is that there's no argument. We're calling for justice. Why would anyone attack someone else for doing so? Especially from the left. The left likes to say, you're
not calling for justice. You're calling for a certain movement to shut up.
Because we say Black Lives Matter doesn't mean we don't think that all lives don't matter. We are just focused on this particular issue. If that were true, why would they make the same assumption about a little boy who lost his life? Using false arguments and straw man arguments. Let's do this. Let's debunk.
These aren't straw man arguments.
This.
I literally just showed memes that prove that these are not straw man arguments.
Fake news. And then I've actually got an optimistic call for unity. I want to show you some interesting things. And
by the way, I took 30 minutes and searched for Canon Hinnant's name on Twitter to find those. It doesn't take long. They're everywhere.
I want to talk about justice for Breonna Taylor. This, to me, I think can be unifying for everybody, and we could actually, maybe have an understanding. Take a look at this comic. In this comic, there's a guy in a MAGA hat. He says, what about this boy who was killed? Where are the protests for him? And there's a little dog, for some reason, who says, did they catch the guy who did it? The MAGA man says yes. Did they arrest and charge him? The MAGA man says immediately. Is he going to jail? The MAGA man says forever. The dog replies, so what would we need to protest for? And the MAGA man is shocked into silence because they don't actually understand what conservatives were upset about. Conservatives were upset that when a kid standing on the stairs of the Lincoln Memorial is confronted by a Native American, the media attacked the kid. The kid didn't do anything wrong.
Nope. They are upset that when somebody like George Floyd gets killed by the police, it gets national coverage after public outcry. When somebody like George Floyd starts a national movement of calling for equality for black people, they are upset that that is getting coverage over the death of this little boy. They are not upset that the Lincoln Memorial kid got coverage over the death of this little boy. They are upset over Black Lives Matter getting coverage over the death of this little boy. There's a huge difference in what Tim Pool is saying right now and what the reality of the situation is.
And the Covington kid, he got ruthlessly berated and insulted. Threats, high-profile personalities saying they wanted to punch him in the face for doing literally nothing. This was a national story. You had a little boy in his front yard. A man runs across the street and executes him, and the news didn't care. Local news did. But national news, it didn't matter. That was the anger. It wasn't about protests. It was about media accountability. Why won't the news talk about this? They want to make fun of a kid in a MAGA hat. And this is a really good example.
The justice for Hinnant thing, that 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 doesn't, what's that have to do with the media? I mean, I guess you can make that argument, but it's really stretching. When somebody says justice for somebody, they're usually thinking some kind of punishment for the aggressor, for the person committing the crime against the person. So when somebody's like, "What about this boy?" and he needs justice, and we're like, "He got justice." That's what this meme is saying.
This MAGA guy's response would be something like, we would protest for the lack of media coverage for this atrocity, a lack of support for the boy's family, a lack of discussion around violence targeting different communities. We would protest because we're tired of the media lying to us. Yeah, that's what he would say. But these memes, I've seen them relentlessly, and I'm confused. I engaged in a conversation with one of the people who posted this, and I said, I don't understand why you're trying to discredit the idea that people deserve justice. I thought you wanted justice for Breonna Taylor and George Floyd and these other individuals who lost their lives. We do. And I said, then why would you post this comic that insults those who would also be asking for justice? Wouldn't you instead say, I'm so sorry to hear about what happened to Cannon. I'm so absolutely sad about this story. I'm here for you. Let me know what you need and let me know what you ask for in terms of justice. And I humbly ask, when we've dealt with your pain, that you would help me in my quest for justice for Breonna Taylor.
But what do these people want for justice? That's a very good question. What do you think these people might want for justice? Huh? Do you think they might want people to start shutting up about Black Lives Matter? Maybe start shutting up about George Floyd? Is that their idea of justice? Yeah.
Why would we disagree with each other? Why would we have a need for these memes to insult people who are sad about a little boy who died? Take a look at this. Another one. I'm outraged this young white boy was killed by a black man for no reason. The media isn't covering it, and we should all demand justice. They immediately went on a statewide manhunt, found him within 24 hours, charged him with first-degree murder, and denied him bail. I don't want justice. I want black... I'm not going to read the last one. They're just basically saying that these people don't actually want justice. They're just trying to silence Black Lives Matter.
Police.
But notice how broken this meme is.
That's
how it makes literally no sense. I'm mad the media won't cover it. Yes. But then the next guy says they arrested him. The response should be burning the document about him being arrested, saying, I understand he was arrested. I'm mad the media won't highlight stories about these atrocities, but will attack another kid like Covington or highlight hoaxes from people like Justice Smollett. I'm upset the media is playing dirty games. These memes are fake news. They're not actually trying to explain anything other than to create hard divisions between people who would probably agree for the most part. Which brings me now to the second half of this. I will absolutely call out and debunk these fake memes, and I will absolutely highlight the case of Breonna Taylor.
So, I don't know if I want to play this. I'll play it. I'll make it a part of the stream. I might take it out of the YouTube video. But I want to point out that the stuff that he's about to say about Breonna Taylor has absolutely nothing to do with Cannon Hinnant. I don't know why they're in the same segment. But yeah, we'll go ahead and play it.
Knock raid from the police in plain clothes. And the boyfriend of Breonna Taylor, I believe it was her boyfriend, didn't know it was the police and fired a shot hitting one of the cops in the leg. The cops fired back, killing Breonna Taylor. Completely innocent, accused of no wrongdoing. She lost her life. Now, this story is very complicated, but I personally believe there needs to be justice for Breonna Taylor. When you tell me agents of the state with no uniforms kick in someone's door with guns and someone legally armed tries to defend themselves, they charge this guy with like attempted murder and they literally killed Breonna Taylor, I'm going to be upset about it. But I'm also going to look into the details. And I'm going to say this. If you ask me for support in the Breonna Taylor case because you want justice, I will say absolutely. You think I'll get behind agents of the state killing people who are innocent? No, never going to happen. But I'll also point out that it's not so simple as just arresting the officers. Many people have posted that, arrest the officers who killed Breonna Taylor. Well, I looked into the story. I believe she deserves justice. And I believe that justice needs to go well beyond this simplistic idea of putting people in prison. Perhaps these police officers knowingly falsified the warrant. They received a no-knock warrant, kicked the door in. We have the story here. Legal panel weighs in on possible charges.
I don't know why right here. It's weird that he's like, possibly the officers falsified the warrant. I don't think that's a thing. It might be. I'd have to look it up. But like, in order for him to make his point, he doesn't even need this hypothetical scenario.
Obstacles in prosecuting officers in Breonna Taylor case. Here's the challenge. When the officers kicked the door in, Walker, who was, I believe, her boyfriend, fired a shot hitting the cops. The cops argue self-defense, which killed Breonna Taylor. So you've got a complicated situation here. Ultimately, I believe the state is at fault. I don't know if we can fault the individual officers based on the surface level, analysis, the surface level legal analysis here. But I believe we need something like Breonna's law, an end to plainclothes, no-knock warrants. What do you think the average person is going to do? They have a right to bear arms. You kick my door in unannounced. I'm going to assume you're a bad guy. And then you can kill someone in response? While I understand there's a challenge here in that the police officers followed legal protocol, had a no-knock warrant, and it unfortunately resulted in the loss of life, I don't believe the system should be permitted to continue in this way. Ultimately, the point is this.
Yeah, so he's right about that. There are systematic changes that need to be made to make sure situations like Breonna Taylor's don't happen again. And that is a big difference in the Breonna Taylor case and the Cannon Hinnant case. What systematic changes are you going to make in order to make sure that the Cannon Hinnant situation doesn't happen again? I can tell you a few that could lessen situations like his. If it turns out the killer was mentally ill, better mental health infrastructure in America. Most kids that die are probably, and I haven't actually looked up the statistics on this, but are probably poorer kids, inner city kids. So social reform, when it comes to taking care of our poor and less fortunate inner city kids, like I stuff like that would probably help damper the amount of Connor Hinnant style deaths that happen in America. Cannon Hinnant style deaths that happen in America.
Yes. Why is it easy for me to say Breonna Taylor's story is a tragedy? It must be looked into, and justice must come in some form. There's been some kinds of justice for sure, but I believe, look, I'll tell you this right now. I understand the arguments for no-knock warrants. I don't care. I don't. We have a Fourth Amendment right to be safe from illegal search and seizure or unreasonable search and seizure. And I believe if an agent of the state in any capacity is wearing street clothes, kicks my door in armed, you expect me to just stand there and be like, it may be a burglar, but what if they say they're cops? Imagine this. A crazed lunatic far leftist kicks your door in, and you're like,
I love how it's a crazed lunatic far leftist that's kicking this guy's door in. Yeah.
Just heard a noise and you grab your firearm and they yell, "We're the police." You go, okay, I'll just put my weapon down and assume this person is a good guy. Or it could be some extremist lying. It could be a burglar or a criminal. Somebody wants to rob you, now knowing I can just say I'm a cop and they won't fight back. No, I'm sorry. Badges out, police on your vest, identifiable, clearly visible. And yes, they should expect homeowners that will be armed. And when they kick your door in and they say police, I don't think they should be no-knock warrants. I think they should have to knock. The police should surround the perimeter. They should then come to your door and knock and say, open up. This is the police. Give it some time and then enter with armor on, clearly visible police markings. I believe justice needs to come in the form of some kind of law or policy change. Now, in this article, they mention there may be reckless endangerment charges because one guy got shot. They fired in self-defense, but they fired like 20 times and killed Breonna Taylor. I'm not the legal expert on this one. I'm not going to tell you what should or shouldn't be done. Just give you my opinion. The point is, I will tell you this. There's no reason to make memes slamming people who are mourning the loss of a little boy.
They're not mourning the loss of a little boy. They are using the loss of a little boy to push a political agenda against Black Lives Matter. Like, why are you trying to reframe this as anything but? Yes, there are people who legitimately are sharing those memes and aren't understanding that that's what's going on. I've had conversations with those types of people. But the people who make those memes know exactly what they're doing. And it's not good. It's not mourning the loss of this little boy.
Just simply say, let's have a conversation. I'm here for you. I understand you're sad and I understand you're angry. And there's no reason to falsely to trick people. It's just ridiculous. And for everybody else, we absolutely are concerned about the police no-knock warrants killing people. Why don't we come together and talk about what we want?
I I think it's interesting that he is honing in on these no-knock warrant things. What about all the other stuff that people that are protesting in response to George Floyd is wanting? Police general police for a recognition of systematic racism in America. No knock warrants just seem easy. But yeah, he's just talking about Breonna Taylor, and no knock warrants, like that's the end all be all of what the people who are protesting in Black Lives Matter is protesting about. It's not, and you need to stop pretending that's it. You need to stop pretending that's it.
To accomplish instead of making memes to just mock and belittle each other. I think we can. At least that's what I'm hoping to do here, right? So I think people should pay attention to the Breonna Taylor case, have a real conversation about it. I think people on the right should be more open to talking about many of these issues, and I think they are. And I think many people on the left should be more open to listening to what conservatives have to say about stories like Hinnant, and then we.
What do conservatives have to say? What do they have to say, Tim Pool? I'm pretty sure this is Tim Pool. That's the thing. I know what they want to say. I know exactly what they want to say, and it's not good.
Can make the world a better place. I'll see you all tomorrow in the next segment coming.
So. So that is one of the stories that they are using to try and distract you from things like Black Lives Matter and COVID and everything else going on in this world that Donald Trump is flailing on. I want to show. If you look at the body of memes that are going around about Canon Hinnant, you do not learn anything about him other than he was shot by a black man. I actually did a little bit of research into this case, and apparently the killer, the guy who killed him, has been living there in the neighborhood for a while, and the Canon Hinnant's dad had him over for dinner and a beer the day before he shot him. I read one news article where the killer was pacing back and forth after shooting him. I'm not sure why. There hasn't been a motive released yet. It's possible that there was mental health issues involved, but I am definitely not going to say that that's the case. Because there's just not enough information out for anybody, especially a non-professional like myself, to be able to come to that conclusion. The point being is that these memes, they don't do anything to actually teach you anything about him and the case. I had to look that stuff up myself, and the only reason I had to look it up was because I wanted to point some of these things out, like that I wanted to point out specifically to a person who was sharing these things on my social media, that like these memes aren't about Canon. It's about Black Lives Matter. Same for this child sex trafficking things that's been going around. There's been a lot of memes, and I've got. Oh, this was another egregious one about Canon Hinnant. When thugs kill a kid, they are silent. When cops kill a thug, they riot. That's cute. I got one that's about COVID. These aren't as popular as they were a few days ago. They should start reporting the number of kids that go missing every day the way they report COVID numbers. Maybe that would get people's attention. I don't think that the numbers of kids that go missing every day is nowhere anywhere near as big as the COVID numbers. Just a little side note. But why why are you comparing the two? You want to draw attention to kids going missing, which, by the way, most of the time when a kid goes missing, it's either a runaway situation, or a family member taking them, which is both tragic. But ignoring COVID isn't going to fix that. Um, hell, getting attention on the amount of kids that this happens to isn't even going to fix that. Most kids that go missing, most kids that are trafficked, um, you need social reforms to fix the issues. Again, these are memes that aren't telling you anything about the reality of things like sex trafficking and kids going missing. Um, I think there's like just over 100 cases of kids that go missing. That's a stranger danger type situation where it's just a stranger taking a kid. Where the other ones is usually a kid, somebody the kids know, the kid knows, or the family knows. Um, a good portion of children who are being trafficked for sex are runaways that are doing it for sustainability, for subsistence. They're doing it for money. They think that they are making a good choice for themselves, in order to make it on their own. Most kids will who are being trafficked will not identify as a victim of sex trafficking. These are things that these memes aren't telling people, but they're getting shared as if they're doing something good, when all they really all the only goal of the people who make these memes. I'm not saying that this is the goal of the people who share these memes, because I think that a lot of people who share these memes have a positive intention. But the goal of the people who make these memes, is not positive. It is to distract you from things like COVID, Black Lives Matter, and the stuff that Trump is hitting the bricks on. Like, something else to mention about the hashtag Save Our Children movement. This was a movement. This was a rebranding of QAnon, which is a right wing conspiracy group. It started with the Wayfair conspiracy, where they thought that children were being sold inside of Wayfair cabinets, because there were cabinets on the Wayfair site that would have a weird name, like let's just random name, Olivia. They would they would connect it to a missing child named Olivia, and they would say, "Why is this cabinet $15,000 and it's also named Olivia? They must be selling the child inside the cabinet." When the reality of the situation is that that's what Wayfair values some of their cabinets at. The prices that they set is just what those people value those cabinets at. And I think that every single missing child that they connected to the names of the Wayfair cabinets was ended up found safe. As a matter of fact, one of the children, I don't know their name, and even if I did, I probably wouldn't say it here. One of the children that was connected to the Wayfair cabinet posted on social media that she was safe, and that this entire thing was bringing up a part of her life that she preferred to forget. She went missing years ago, and she did not want to be connected to this conspiracy. So this stuff is actually doing harm to these children that went missing. I'm not sure if Hinnant's parents and family has said anything about the way that his death has been politicized, but I guarantee you that if every single child's death was politicized in the way that Hinnant's death has been, it would be actively harming those families. And it's just so disgusting. And I think I'm done talking about this now. I'm gonna play some Spyro, and then I'm going to probably head out.